Hello, Maeya TV. Welcome back for a full day of great interviews. I'm Jessica Haro, and I'm here with Gary Nguyen.
Hi.
Gary is an actor. Tell us all about yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Gary Nguyen. I was born and raised in Vietnam. I came to the US when I was 17. I guess my acting journey didn't start until I was into my late 20s, just because when I was growing up, even though I love the industry, but my parents have other expectations for me. They wanted me to study and become a doctor or any other stable careers. So I have to fulfill their expectation first, and so I graduated and did a little bit of everything.
Hello, Maeya TV. Welcome back for a full day of great interviews. I'm Jessica Haro, and I'm here with Gary Nguyen. Gary is an actor. So tell us all about yourself. Tell us about how you got involved in acting.
I was born and raised in Vietnam. I came to how did I get involved into acting? I guess in the US, I think I didn't know much. I only watched a lot of TV, so I saw how people were doing on the screen, and I wanted to do it. And then back in 2013, when I was still in college, there was a casting call in San Diego for the Anchorman 2. I think it was big back then, so everything was on the news. There was like people were lining up outside just to get to be seen by casting director, because they want to be in that scene at SeaWorld for the entire day. So I signed up too. I don't think I get the part to get paid, but I get to just fill in one of the seats in the Orcas shows, and so that was my first acting job. I think all they did was just feed me. That's it.
Okay, that's a nice.
Yeah, so
nice
that's my first experience. Yes.
And from there, you've done a lot more work. You kept, working in LA.
Yes, yes. So from there, I had to juggle between my regular jobs to my other's passion, which is becoming an actor. So I was looking for different auditions. Then I had to drive to LA to audition for it, and it just kept going until 2020 when COVID happened. So then at that time, I get a chance to fully emerge back into my passion and my I guess what he used that word for, not passion, but something that you really wanted to do all your life.
Dream, I suppose?
Yes, all right. So, just gotta go back to follow my dream. And at that time, because of COVID, you don't get to go into in-person audition anymore. But they're doing a lot of self-tape. You just have to film yourself and then submit it on Google Drive or email it to casting director. Even Zoom calls. You doing audition for Zoom, and then they just throw out a bunch of casting at that time, just because no one wanted to work, just because of the pandemic. And then I started to get noticed by some other casting, and so I were in the ensemble cast of this film when we have to do Zoom maybe once a month with all the casting, even though it didn't come to fruition just because some of the cast was overseas. They couldn't get the visas to come there and film because of what happened back in 2020. So we had to put it back to the shelf for that one. But then because of that, I learned a lot more. Because they were like, "Hey, I think you're really good at this. You should look into it." So I make friends, and they show me where to start. They said, "Well, you need to start somewhere." So, because before that, I wouldn't know the difference between union, non-union, or where to take acting classes, where to look for agents or managers to sign me, and what was SAG. No one told me that, and no one taught me until then. So then I got all the basics. Then I started going back out there and doing more.
So at that time you were doing a lot of small background roles. You were also doing shorts.
Yes, student film, shorts, backgrounds. I mean, even for backgrounds here, it's really good compared to Vietnam, because I did a little bit of background work in Vietnam, and they basically just pay you little to nothing. Something that pay you here 100, they pay you like a $2 over there. But you work could be 18 hours or overtime, but obviously they don't pay you overtime, or they don't feed you, or there was no insurance or security or whatnot over there compared to here. So, but I learned, I got the experience.
So you mostly acted here in the U.S., but you also went back to Vietnam and did some acting there, did some acting training there.
Yes, so I did back in 2023 when I first came back. Is I known a friend that also came from San Jose, and she moved back. She went back and she opened an academy there for everyone, all ages. Even some well-known people actually came back to her school and studied with this style, because over there, people wanted movies more than TV shows, and basically the last 20, 30, 40 years, their style of filmmaking was basically just TV show styles. People using a lot of expressions with using their body languages instead of their eyes, because if you watch movies here, people using a lot of eyes context to tell a story. They didn't move at all. In one scene you could just stand doing nothing, but people could see the depth of your character. So that's what she training people over there. And with that style, you can just come back here and make your own too. So it's really helpful. So that's why I came back, and I finished 3 courses with her so far, from 2023 to 2024, the 25th too.
Is there a difference in what audiences expect in films in Vietnam versus what American audiences want?
Yeah, there's a lot of restrictions compared to the U.S., because over there you have to go through a lot of censorship. The government had to review it before they decided if this movie is a go, or they would say like, hey, you need to cut a bunch of it before you release it, and then you have to deal with distribution, and you have to deal with people buying your movies and start selling them to movie theaters chains over there. So it's just totally different. So in Vietnam, they cannot do a lot of war movies, but they can make comedies movie, and they make a lot of horror movies. That's always their knowns, but they're trying to get out of their box and making better movies now. Yes.
And then, so you came back here, and you were involved in a TV show that came out recently and did very well. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So I actually did it 2 years ago when we filmed it, but then it didn't get released until last year during Christmas time. I guess because the timelines that they wanted to do it, they didn't want to release this one instead of this one. I only worked 2 months on this project. It's a Star Wars TV show. It's called Skeleton Crew. I mean, my character was very, very small. If you blink, you probably miss it.
Mhm.
But I was on episode 8, I think, very last one. So that opened more doors for me actually, because it's Star Wars. So even if you only work 2 months, and nobody noticed, but then I got reached out by a lot of people. I just got more opportunities because of that project.
Because I know Star Wars fans, even if you're in a really small part, you don't have lines, you're just in the background, they would notice you and go, "Oh, I'm interested in this no-name character," and then you end up coming back. They end up making an entire life for you.
Yeah, no. When I signed the ADA with Disney and Lucasfilms, well, which is Disney now, they were like, make sure we get to see you in full costume with that characters, and maybe we could bring you back in the future. You just don't know. But so yeah, and then I know some people that did other Star Wars shows, that they were having more screen time, even though they don't have any lines, but they actually get invited to convention just to do signings because they were an alien in a costume, could be a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
And they still get to meet the fans, so it was actually really cool. Didn't happen to me though, but I do get letters randomly from people because if they look up my IMDb and then they just reach out to me on my Facebook or social media, they were like, I hope I didn't bother you, but would it be okay if I send you this little card and can you sign it and ship it back to me? And it's little things like that that warm my heart. I was like, oh, you really care,
So what was it like to work in this big show? It's Star Wars, it's Disney. What was that like?
I really enjoy it on the scale of productions. Everyone was very professional. Makeups, wardrobes, casting, catering, of course. And I really like the wardrobe because they have to tailor it to your characters. So they send you out to multiples fitting to make sure that your costume was right. Security wise, they really want you to keep everything secret. Even 2 years ago, that when it was filmed, they didn't want you to talk until the movie came out last year. And then they make you sign a bunch of stuff. They took your phone away. They put rope on you every time you were cut. So it just wild, crazy. All the big projects from Disney now, from Marvel to Star Wars, they using code name for it to just keep everything secret. And you could violate a contract if you put your name out on IMDb so fast before it was released. They would they would fine you and say, hey, I want you to remove your name right now, just to keep the secret, or they might sue you. So.
Now, after acting in LA for a few years, you built up enough acting roles that you got into the Screen Actors Guild.
Yes.
Tell us about what is the process of getting into the guild?
So to be eligible to join SAG-AFTRA, all you need is a 3 union vouchers, which is yellow vouchers. When you're non-union and you go on set for that day, you get a blue voucher. Then but then if you get 3 yellow vouchers for each day, then you're eligible. But then you could accumulate as many yellow vouchers as you can until you think it's the right time for you to join. Because I know this process was hard in the past. To be able to get 3, it takes people a lot of time. But during my time, I guess for some reason, it's making easier for everyone to get. So I get 3, but then I was like, is it the right time to join? And then all of a sudden I got 20 of them, so then they forced you to join. They were like, hey, we can't keep paying you with union rate if you don't join. So then you join. But there's the benefits for joining, because then if you're union, you get exposed into more union projects, you get protected, and then they look at you differently because they know you working, your seriousness and your professions is more into that, instead of asking you if you're union and then you don't know or you don't have any idea what union was, and then they just look at you and say maybe he wasn't serious.
So recently there's been a lot of talk in Hollywood about increasing the diversity of roles on screen. Have you noticed an increase in the availability of Asian roles?
Yes, and that's actually good, because then I would get a lot of calls from my agent saying that, hey, you need to submit for this role and that role. It wasn't a guarantee that you're going to get the job, because then I remember when I used to go to audition room 10 years ago in LA. Back then they don't have a lot of Asian role, right? So when you come in for just one role, there was hundreds and thousands of others, Asians, American actors that were in the room just compete for that role. Now I guess it's the same, but then there's more for everyone to pick and choose. So I think it's kind of good.
Good.
Yeah.
And then do you have any words of advice for other actors who want to
start?
Yeah, who want to start acting, who don't know like how the Hollywood works, want to get into that?
Oh yes. So if you wanted to become an actor, you don't have to start as early. It just whenever you think is the right time. But make sure that you're financially stable, and you need to keep steady. So do a bunch of trainings, never stop learning, and make sure that you have a backup jobs, just so you can support yourself to pursue your dream. And then, what should I say next? I think I get the last one I wanted to say. Want to remind me?
Well, I wanted them to all know how they can find out more about you and your work.
Oh, right. If you go on IMDb, you can look up for Gary Nguyen. My last name is Nguyen, Nguyen, number 2. I think that's because the first one already taken by another Gary. But yeah, you can look me up on there with all my my credits available right now. And yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Gary, for being here on Maeya TV. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Keep an eye out. We're going to have more interviews coming up soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Watching. Keep an eye out. We're going to have...
Yeah, I was thinking about telling them